Okay, students, so today we are going to be talking about the simple past tense of verbs. So verbs just mean action words, and when I say simple past, that just means an action from the past or an action completed in the past, or anything right before right now. So simple present means like in the moment, right? Or something that you do a lot. But simple past means anything before right now. So just a little review. Verbs are action words. They can be in present, in the moment, past, before right now, or future, after right now, right? And today we will talk about past verbs. So we know that the present tense, we keep the verb the same. We have the verb walk, we just say I walk home at 3. And we use the present verb to let somebody know that we do it a lot. They close at 8. So they could be the store closes at 8. That means that they do it every single night. Past means before right now, and all we have to do to the verb is add ed, the letters E and D, after the simple present form. So you see we have the verb walk right here. The only thing that we do to change it to be past is add ed at the end. Walked. So I walk home at 3. That one means I do it a lot. I walk home a lot at 3. I walked home at 3 means that before right now, you walked home. So you were walking home before right now at 3. I walked home in the past. You can do it with lots of verbs. So like talk turns into talked. We just add an ed. And that's all you do to make it past is you just add the ed. So in English, we have two things. We have regular verbs, regular action words, and irregular verbs or irregular action words. And regular just means normal, and irregular means not normal. Regular verbs are nice because you just add the ed at the end, right? So use turns into used, call, called, work, worked, help, helped, need, needed, change, changed, look, looked, want, wanted, start, started. So for all of these verbs, you can see you just add an ed at the end. So all of them, that's all you're doing. Not super complicated or hard. That's all you gotta do when you're making them past tense. And the thing that's nice about them is, unlike or with when you're talking about present tense, remember we had to change the verb when it was he, she, or it, like he walks, she walks, it walks. For past tense, there is nothing you need to change. It doesn't matter who it is about. It can be I, you, he, she, it, we, they. You're always just going to put the ed at the end of the verb. You don't need to put an eds, none of that. So it's just I walked, you walked, he walked, she walked, it walked, we walked, they walked. So that's all you got to do. Nothing complicated. Nothing too hard. So for some practice, what we can do is see how we had the verb use. These are all, the words above are present. These are all present tense verbs. And all we have to do is add ed. So use, I used the vacuum. That is past tense. Change, I changed after work. Like you changed your clothes after work. Starts, she started on Monday. That's past tense. Call, present tense. They called in sick. We added the ed and we made it past. You looked you looked sick. Again, look is the regular simple present, and to make it simple past, we just add the ed. She helped me. We just add the ed. Here's some more practice. Oh, that one should say worked. Hold on, let me fix that one. It should say I worked overtime this week. Let's see, I worked. There we go. I worked overtime. Okay, so I worked overtime this week. So again, we took the present and we turned it into past by adding the ed. The time changed. Change, add the ed, changed. Now it is past tense. I needed a break. My coworker called in sick. You looked sick, or the medicine helped me. So all of these sentences are in past tense because we took the regular verb, we took the simple present verb, and we turned it into past. And all of these sentences let somebody know that whatever you're talking about happened before right now. So if you said my coworker, remember coworker just means somebody you work with. So my coworker called in sick. That just means that they could have called in sick yesterday. They could have called in sick this morning. So if somebody asked you, "Oh, where is your coworker?" You could say, "Oh, my coworker called in sick," and they would know that earlier that morning or yesterday, your coworker in the past called in sick. If somebody asked you, "Oh, are you feeling better today? Were you able to get some medicine?" Like if you felt sick, you could say, "Oh yes, I'm better now. The medicine helped me." That would let them know that the medicine it helped in the past. So the verb help, which is present, it was help. You were helped by the medicine before right now, or whenever you took it. So there, like I said, there are regular and irregular. Irregular just means not normal verbs. Regular is normal verbs. So all of these words that you just add an ed, those are regular verbs. Irregular verbs are tricky. So a regular verb like call, to make it past tense, we just added an ed, right? Called. But for irregular verbs, they're hard because if you say eat, that's present, right, in the moment. But if you said eated, that's wrong. You cannot put an ed at the end of an irregular verb. You cannot put the ed at the end of this word. So what you have to do is you change the word to a new verb, a new action word that means the same thing. So eat and ate, they mean the same thing. Oh, sorry, I'm sniffing so much. I have allergies. Eat and ate. These two mean the same thing, except this one is present right now in the moment, and ate is past, so before right now. And irregular verbs are tricky because they can only be memorized. For these verbs, you just have to practice using them, saying them, reading them, and knowing that they mean the same thing as the present tense. So I have a lot of irregular verbs on this slide. A lot of the irregular verbs I use in this lesson today are used a lot by English speakers. So if you were able to memorize the irregular verbs from today's lesson, you would be doing really good. So past irregular verbs are action words. So say, like you're talking, like you say something. Past would be said. So you see how this one is like a different word? It's spelled completely different. It kind of sounds the same. They both start with an S, and they have a A, say, but this one is said. It's pronounced said, not said, said. So say is present, said is past. And said, like you could say, they said to move my car. That would mean past tense. Make, the past tense verb, the past verb is made. Made. So make is present, made is past. Go is present, and went is past. This one's extra hard because it's a completely different word. These two words do not look the same, but they mean the same thing, the same kind of action. It's just one is right now, and the other one is before right now. So it all has to do with the time. So when did you do this? So go is present, went is past, come is present, came is past, get is present, got is past. And then if you have the form of be, so be, like to be, am and is or are the present, right? I am going to work. We are coming to work. Those are present. Past for am and is was. And are is were. So if you said, we are going to work. We are going to work. That's present. We were going to work. That's past. So it's really important to know these words because it's really important to let people know what time something happens. So, for example, sometimes you have to tell somebody, describe something that happened. The time that those things happen is very important for that person to know. So, for example, if somebody was asking, let's try and think of a good situation. So, for example, a situation that would be really important for you to be saying times would be like if we're going to take this out. So it's just really important to tell people this. So some more past irregular verbs are leave. That's the present. Left is the past. Think is present. Thought is past. So I think I will go to the store. And you said, I thought I would go to the store. I thought is past tense. Sleep, slept. Instead of saying I sleep in, you could say I slept in, and that would let the person know that you slept in before right now, like this morning. If you said I sleep in, that means you do it every day. Wake and woke. I wake up at 6. That lets somebody know when you say that, I wake up at 6, that you do it every day. If you say, I woke up at 6, that would just mean that morning. Just that morning in the past, I woke up. It wouldn't mean that you wake up at 6 every day. It would just mean you woke up. Take, took. You could say, I take the bus. You do that every day. If you said, I took the bus, that would mean that you took it that day, before right now. So like that morning, or if you got home and your child or your spouse is saying, oh, how did you get home? You could say, I took the bus, and that would mean past. Do is present, and did is past. Do, I do the dishes. You do them all the time. I did the dishes just means before right now, you did them. Not all the time. So we're going to practice some irregular verbs. So the present of came is come. So if we said we came to work early, that just means past. I got a new car. This is past of get. If we have the verb are, we need to change it to were to make it past tense. They were late today. For go, to make it past, it turns into went. You went to the store. Take is present, so to make it past, we say I took the train. For leave, my coworker left early. Leave, the past tense of leave is left. I thought there was no work today. Think is the present, thought is the past. I sleep, this is the present, so we want to make it past, so it turns into slept. I slept late this morning. So simple verbs tell us, or simple past verbs tell us what was completed in the past. Simple past verbs are actions from the past. So that's how we use the past. So how we make them is we either change them into a new word, or we add the ed at the end, right? And we use that to tell people the time that we did something. So for example, I take the bus. We know that when you say the noun, the who, if it's a person or a thing, I, you, he, she, it, they were, whatever that is, you say that, and just the simple present, that means that you do this all the time. It's something that you do a lot. I take the bus. If you said I took the bus, that means just in the past, just before right now. It doesn't really mean that you do it a lot. It just means you did it before right now. It could be this morning, or it could be 2 years ago. It could be any time in the past. So that's why this is so great, because when you use the past, the simple past, it just means any time in the past. So if somebody said, how did you get to work today? You could say, I took the bus. And they know that that happened in the past, that you were taking the bus before right now. But if somebody said, how did you get to school when you were a kid? So that's a really long time ago. But you can still say, I took the bus, because it's the past. The past is all the same. So that's why it's really nice. If you say, I walk home, again, that means that you walk home a lot, that you do it a lot every day, or you do it every day that you work. It's just that you're doing it a lot. If you said, I walked home, it means that you're saying that you did it in the past. So you're not doing it right now, but you did it before right now. So again, we're going to do some practice with regular and irregular, right, verbs in the past tense. So we have she alone yesterday, and the verb that we're going to use is work. This is the present tense. So to make this one past tense, we just add an ed. This one, work, is a regular verb. She worked alone yesterday. So this one is past tense. And we couldn't use, if we put work right here, she worked alone yesterday, that's not right, because remember, if we said yesterday, so that's saying the past, so that wouldn't work. Also, when we have remember, if we're saying the present tense, we have to add an S if it's she or he or it. So it would have to be she works alone, and we'd have to get rid of the yesterday to make it present tense. But since we want to make it past tense, we just do an ed, because work is a regular verb. It is a normal verb. You don't have to change it into a new word. So if we have the verb come, This sentence is I to work early. Past tense, this one's irregular. So it's I came to work early, right? They, the verb is drive. It's an irregular verb. It's not normal. So they drove to work. That's past tense. The patient, spill is the verb, and we need to make it past tense. Spill is regular. So all we have to do is add an ed, right? The patient spilled their food. She, the verb is think. This one's irregular. It's not normal. So it turns into thought. She thought her phone was stolen. The next verb, we clean. That's the verb, the first floor. So if we said we clean the first floor, that would be present tense. It means that we, whoever the we is, whether it's you and your coworker or you and the entire group that you work with, clean the first floor all the time. If we say we cleaned the first floor, that would mean that you just did it in the past, that you only did it in the past. So, for example, if somebody asked, oh, what part of the hospital did you clean today? You would say, we cleaned the first floor. So it would let them know that that's what happened in the past. If you said, we cleaned the first floor, that would tell the person that you do it all the time. So I do extra work today. So to make it past, I did extra work today. My family to the movies. So we need to figure out how to change this verb. So go is a tricky one, right? Because it changes to a completely different word, but it means the same thing in a different time. My family went to the movies. I had a bad day today. So this one is past. Have, the past of have is had. So, just really quickly, you can say today in a sentence and still have it mean past tense, because I know that today means now. But when you say the past tense and you said today, past tense just means before the time that you're saying it, any time before. So it could be right before, it could be like 10 minutes before, and you still would say like I went to the store, right? That would be past tense. And it was like 10 minutes ago. Like if you came home and your child was like, where did you go, Mom? You could say, I went to the store, even though it was just 10 minutes ago. That's still past tense. So even though you still went there today, as long as it's before the time you're talking, it's past tense. Now we're going to talk a little bit about pronunciation. So for pronunciation, it just means how to say it. For English, it's hard because what something looks like, what the word looks like on paper, can be different from how it sounds, which is really hard. And sometimes you will know how to say a word in English, but when you see it written, when you see it like on a piece of paper, you don't know what it is. So I'm going to go a little bit over that. So when we're using the past tense, the ed at the end of a verb, it can be said or pronounced like a d, a d sound, a t, like a t sound, or an ed, ed sound. So I made a little chart of some of the verbs that sound that way. So some of the duh verbs, if we have the verb used, it makes a duh sound at the end. Spilled. So even though these both have an ed, They don't make an ed sound. It's not spill ed or use ed. It's used, spilled, cleaned, and changed. So all of these have an ed at the end, but they make a d sound. For the next sound, a t sound, looked, worked, helped, and called. So these ones, all of these you just have to memorize how they sound. And I know that that's really hard. So it's okay if it takes you a long time, but soon after hearing it a lot, you'll understand it better and you'll be able to use it better. And when you see it written, you'll be able to understand what it means. So looked, worked, helped, called. This one, some people in English will pronounce this as called or called. And that just depends on the kind of accent that you have. So I have an accent for the kind of like the southwest of the United States. I have a southwest accent. And depending on where you're at in the United States, people will sometimes say these differently. Sometimes they'll be like, they'll put a D ending instead of a T, like called. They could say called or called. I called him or I called him. It just depends where that person's from and how they speak. It's just the accent. So depending on what you think sounds better, you can say it, but some of them are definitely, people don't say them anywhere in the United States or in other English-speaking countries. Like, I have never heard somebody say helped or worked. It's always worked or helped. Maybe they'd say worked. That could be something somebody says, but for the most part, the D's and the T's sometimes can get switched around. You can hear people say them differently, but if it's pronounced with a t end or a d end, it is never going to be an ed sound. So wanted makes an ed sound. Need, ed, needed, started, or decided. So those ones, you're putting an ed at the end of it. I know that in English, depending on what your native language is, D and T sound really close. I know that in Arabic, it's like P and B. I can't remember what it is in Spanish. I think it's V and B. I can't remember. It's one of those. But they sound the same to a lot of people, depending on what your native language is. But D and T are different.